in Israel. Family is in their home, having a nice lunch, husband, wife, and children. All of a sudden, one of the teenage daughters goes to her room to get something, and the next thing the family knows is that there is screaming going on, a hysterical screaming going on. And she comes running out, there's a snake, in the house. And the father, the protector, peeks into the room, and it's an enormous snake that he recognizes as being a poisonous snake. He says, come on, we got to get out of here. And they all run out of the house. They run on into the street, and they're calming each other down. And as they look, they could see 100 feet away a man walking out of a path, and he's wearing a T-shirt, and he says, removal of dangerous pests. They can't believe this. This is Yad Hashem, such a miracle. And the father runs over to him. His name is Michael. He runs over to him and says, listen, we have a snake in our apartment. Can you take care of it? And he says, well, tell me what the snake looks like. And he describes this. Oh, that's a dangerous snake. He says, listen, I can take care of it. He tells her the price. He says, but because of the danger of this snake, you stay here, and I'll be out. I'll be out relatively soon with the snake. So he goes in, and 15, 20 minutes later, he comes out with the snake in the bag. Everybody sees the snake wriggling around in the bag. And the fellow goes upstairs to get his money. The whole family starts going upstairs. I mean, the apartment is a mess. The furniture is moved all over the place. Even furniture with drawers, somewhat open shoes all around. Some shirts on the floor, but whatever, whatever it took to get rid of the snake is fine. The guy gets his money and pays the rescuer, the specialist, who said to him, you're not the only one in the neighborhood. There's another building here that had a couple of snakes in it. There's some kind of, he called it a magefa, some kind of plague going around with snakes coming in the neighborhood, but hopefully you're okay. And he goes on his way. In the early evening, a neighbor from around the corner by the name of Yaakov comes to the door. Yaakov had been overseas for 2 weeks. This is before coronavirus, so he didn't have to worry about the quarantine when he came back. He's in the jewelry business in some fashion. Before he left, he gave Michael a box with $50,000 worth of diamonds in it, and told Michael that he will pay Michael to watch those diamonds. He would be what's called a shomer sachar, person who watches somebody else's property and is getting a fee for what he's doing. So he says no problem, and he goes to he has a desk that had a secret compartment in it, and he goes and the box is not there. And he had just checked it that morning to verify that it was there, and it was, and now it's not there. And he starts thinking, I didn't put it anyplace else. Where could it possibly be? And he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He gives Yaakov, give me some time, please. Let's try to figure this out. And he says, listen, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But as far as I know, you owe me $50,000, less your fee for being the shomer sachar. But a shomer zachar, someone who's getting paid, is obligated in theft or loss, as opposed to a shomer chinam, someone who's watching something without getting paid. So he's not responsible for that theft. So in the meantime, Yaakov, he goes out to clear his air, and he actually meets another neighbor, and they start talking, and the neighbor starts saying to you, you won't believe it, and he's upset. He says, you won't believe this, I had a snake in my apartment. He says, what are you talking about? Me too. And the neighbor tells him that, yeah, he had the snake, and he went out and he found that there was a guy there who just was able to help him out. He had a T-shirt on, that said he can eliminate dangerous pests. But when he went back into his apartment, they have a daughter getting married in a few weeks, and they were saving up a lot of cash to give her as a dowry, and the cash was missing. And Yaakov understands, as well as his neighbor, maybe the neighbor already understood, that this guy was a scam artist. This fellow figured out a way of sneaking a snake through a window, an open door when nobody was watching, how the case might have been, got a snake into the apartment. Let's give him credit. We'll assume that he had defanged it and it wasn't poisonous anymore, but huge snakes. And while he insists that the people stay out because of the danger of the snake that they readily agreed to, he went about his business looking for valuables. So Michal goes back to Yaakov, who is the owner of the diamonds, and he tells him what happens. And Yaakov says to him, listen, I'm very sorry that this whole episode happened to you and to the neighbor, but that as a shomer sachar, someone who's getting paid for the job, you're actually obligated for theft and robbery. So he says, but this was an onus. This was unavoidable. A shomer sachar, even though he's getting paid, something that comes up that's an unavoidable hazard that I'm not responsible for. So they couldn't agree, but they were, Baruch Hashem, they were polite to each other, and they agreed to go for the psak din. So Rabbi Silverstein pointed out that a similar question, certainly not identical, and to remind me, I'll unmute you, I'll give you a chance to identify how it's not identical, but maybe instructive, that the Trumas Hadeshin, over 600 years ago, has a recorded psak ruling about the following case. A fellow comes knocking on a door in the neighborhood. He explains, I'm traveling through, I'm a little bit in the small livestock business, and one of my chickens escaped from me, and I saw that he jumped and flew into your window on the side over there. Would you mind if I go in and retrieve him? And the fellow said, no. He showed him the door to the room. He says, go ahead. Look for me. The chicken wasn't obvious, and he said, go ahead, look for him. I'll be in the kitchen. Let me know when you're finished. So he did that, and 10 minutes later, he comes walking out with the chicken. He thanks him very much, and he goes on his way. He also was a shomer. He was a shomer chinam. So he's not getting a salary. So he has a lot of allowances. He was a shomer chinam for 100 gold coins that, according to the tshuva, he hid under his bed. Not sure today if that's the best hiding place or not, but I guess at that time it was considered to be pretty good. Maybe he also had it inside another box, whatever it is. But this fellow, in the 10 minutes, he was skilled enough that within 10 minutes, he was able to find these coins. It could well be that he had heard somehow through the grapevine that those coins were in the house. But the bottom line is they were stolen. And when the owner of the coins came, he also demanded his money. And the shomer was at first reluctant. So they went to the Trumas Hadeshin to paskin, to rule in this case. The Trumas Hadeshin cited the Shulchan Aruch. That the Mechaber starts off in the majority of the paragraph by listing the fact that when someone entrusts the shomer to watch something, it's automatically included that the spouse and adult children, meaning above bar bat mitzvah, it's understood unless specified otherwise that they can be equal partners in the shmirah, in the watching of the object. So if the husband has to go out and the wife is available, etc., etc. But the Ramah adds, in a brief comment, the Ramah says, if the shomer, the one watching the items, in this case the gold coins, allowed somebody into the room where he has the article stored, even though the person he lets in is not known to be a thief, nevertheless, he left him unattended in the room where he knew the item was, so he must pay. So now, I ask you, those of you who have allowed yourselves to be unmuted are unmuted. I ask you, does this case give direct instruction? The case from 60+ years ago, the Trumas Hadeshin, the chicken in the bedroom and the stolen coins, does this inform us on what the halachas should be with the snake in the apartment? Everybody centered themselves in the apartment, and while the guy caught his pet snake, he was able to rob $50,000 worth of diamonds. What do you say? If you're unmuted, you're welcome to try to be the first one to speak. Speak a little bit louder. I can't hear you.
Are we muted?
No, I have muted everybody. So, but some of you have muted yourselves. Some people are still muted, but okay. Some of you are shy, huh? All right, you're deferring to others to be the first. So actually, as Rabbi Silverstein pointed out, the cases are not similar. What's not similar is the urgency versus the non-urgency. In the case that the Trumas Hadeshin adjudicated, where the chicken was placed or allowed to fly into the window, and the man, the owner of the house, allowed the guy to stay in bed and find his chicken, he had no right to absent himself. The chicken was not dangerous. He knew that the coins were in that bedroom, and he should have remained a shomer. He should have stayed on guard, making sure that this fellow did not disturb the property that he was watching. So that, because he left the room, that is sheer, that is negligence. And negligence, nobody is exonerated for being negligent. So the case from 600+ years ago, that shomer was responsible to replace 100 gold coins, a small sum. However, in our case, of the poison of the snake, of course people have to absent themselves. It was a matter of pikuach. That's something that we're dealing with right now. We understand the extents that we take to keep ourselves safe. You're not going to stay in a room with a snake and sacrifice your life, possibly, an object. So if Silverstein ruled that even though there was a similarity, the case of was not identical, and the fellow who was the shomer, the fellow who was the shomer for the diamonds is not obligated to pay because he acted appropriately by fleeing the apartment and protecting his life. We hope that we don't have any case directly similar to this. We hope that the principle in judging the case reaffirms our commitment to protect ourselves at this time of our own magefa with the coronavirus. And we should be reminded that there's no shortage of scammers around, and they particularly like the same high-risk community that we're protecting ourselves from the virus. So please be very suspect of calls that you might get. Never give your social security number and other private details. You have to be on guard. I know that the ARP publication that many of us receive and the Kabrua newspapers are often highlighting the popular scams that are going around. Better be safe than sorry. Give up that the free vacation, even possibly if you suspect that something's not right. And where are we traveling to anyway right now? So I want to wish you, I'll unmute us momentarily. I want to wish you both a Shavua Tov and a Chodesh Tov. It is Rosh Chodesh tonight.